and talk to you really about what crowdfunding is. Crowdfunding is 3 years ago was a $7 billion international business, $16 billion 2 years ago, and last year $34.4 billion went through the crowdfunding realm to businesses, individuals, and others across the world. So this is a multi-billion-dollar industry that didn't exist 6 or 7 years ago. It's a phenomenal growth that has happened, basically taking the power of raising money out of the hands of Wall Street, out of the hands of banks, out of the hands of venture capitalists and rich folks, and putting it into the hands of the people, where a company can actually go to their customers, to their fans, to the people that support them to raise money, and making this now, through these laws that we're going to talk about today, legal to do that. Before, unless you were a public company and trading on, the NASDAQ or over the counter or New York Stock Exchange, you couldn't raise money from everyday people. You could only raise money from rich people. These laws were designed to change that, to make it legal for companies, and particularly small companies, to be able to go and raise money from everybody, anyone that they wanted to, particularly the people that support their business already. So what is crowdfunding? Let's start with that. Crowdfunding itself is not anything that's new. Crowdfunding, I give a couple of examples when I speak all over the country. I do a lot of keynotes and talk about this. When I talk about crowdfunding, I like to talk about this, something that's been around for a long time. Mozart, amazingly, actually held what I like to refer to as the first rewards-based crowdfunding campaign back in 1783. Mozart had 3 concertos that he wanted to perform, and he did not have the money to perform them. So he went out to fans of his, the people that like to hear him play, basically the same thing you would do today, your fans, the people that are your customers, your business. And I think it was 176 backers of his paid him money to have their names listed on the back of the manuscript that contained the 3 concertos he wanted to perform. They basically sponsored him by the crowd coming together to give him small amounts of money so he could afford to perform these 3 concertos. Another very famous incident of crowdfunding, basically meaning getting small amounts of money from a large group of people to fund something, is the base of the Statue of Liberty. Very few people realize that when France gave this beautiful gesture of Lady Liberty to the United States, they didn't give us anything to put it on. It was a statue. And in order to put it on Liberty Island, they needed a base, something that could hold it up, something that would take the statue off the ground. And to build this base out of granite, the city did not have the money to do it, could not afford to do it. No one had the money to do it. Joseph Pulitzer ran a newspaper at the time, very famous name, Pulitzer, the New York World, and he went to his readers and basically said, anyone who's willing to donate $1 or less, I will send you a little statue of the Statue of Liberty. That was the first reward given, much like one would get on Kickstarter right now. And I will take the money, put it all together, give it to the city to be able to build the base for the Statue of Liberty. They raised over $100,000, which in today's world would be several $1 million, from 125,000 readers who gave $1 or less to fund the base of Lady Liberty. So crowdfunding is not something new. Anyone who's ever been to church before has seen people pass the hat or pass the collection plate. That's crowdfunding also. The big difference is what's become what we all know as modern crowdfunding. And I like to call modern crowdfunding where people are going online to raise money for a cause, for a business, or for some other endeavor. The real advent of crowdfunding online started in 2007, 2008 with the financial crash. You had a situation where banks prior to 2007 and 2008 would give loans to people. If you wanted to start a business and you had a good business plan and you had a good management team, you could go to your local bank and you could get a small loan to start your business. You could take out a line of credit. You didn't necessarily have to have collateral if you had good credit. You could get money. You could start a business by borrowing from a bank, the way that business had been done forever and ever. 2007, 2008 roll around, banks stopped lending money, period. As we all know, you couldn't get a loan. It didn't matter how great your credit was. It didn't matter what you did unless it was fully collateralized. You were not going to borrow money from a bank, and small businesses had no way to fund their ongoing operations, and entrepreneurs had no way to fund their new business ventures. So at about the same time, not coincidentally in 2008 and 2009, 2 websites popped up online One was called Kickstarter and another one was called Indiegogo. And these two websites have now become the two benchmarks for what we call rewards-based crowdfunding, where you're not selling equity in your company, you're just simply allowing people to give you money in exchange for a reward, a perk, something that you give them back, but you don't buy any part of the company. So these two companies launched online at the exact same time as this financial crisis, and primarily in response to the fact that people could not borrow money to basically fund their endeavors. Now, I like to use an example just for those of you who are not familiar with crowdfunding in general, and we're going to get to the legal part of this in a second, but it's important to understand the legal part came as a result of these online rewards-based crowdfunding places like Kickstarter and Indiegogo. So the best example of a company that started their business or got their business up and going as a result of crowdfunding here in the modern era I'm going to talk about, but first I'm going to show you a picture here. This is a $10,000 watch. It's a Breitling Bentley model, beautiful timepiece, absolutely gorgeous, stunning piece of jewelry and timepiece, but this is a $10 million watch that you now see. And I call it a $10 million watch because through crowdfunding on Kickstarter, the Pebble Watch company raised $10,266,000 and change from 68,000 people online who gave them $100 or $200 a pop to basically pre-purchase a watch that didn't exist yet. So back in 2010 or 2011, I believe, when this launched, Pebble Watch Company needed to raise a few $100,000 to manufacture this really cool watch that this is before the days of the iWatch, but this really cool smartwatch. It was one of the first watches to sync with your iPhone and your Android device and to do all these different things that now have become commonplace, but at the time they were one of the first to do it. They didn't have the money to do it. They did have a fan base. They went online and said, if you give us $150 or whatever the amount was, in 6 months when we build this watch, we're going to send you the first ones off the production line. And as you can see, they raised over $10 million doing this. They didn't, I think their goal was $100,000. They became written about in the Wall Street Journal. Everyone was talking about the Pebble Watch in the financial world because this new model of, hey, wait a minute, we went through the internet, raised money for a product that doesn't exist yet. And by the way, Pebble Watch gave away not one iota of their equity when they did this. So this was just people pre-purchasing a product that didn't exist. Well, a lot of eyebrows raised and said, wow, if you can do this, what would happen if Pebble Watch people had been able to actually sell stock in their company, take 10% of their company and sell it to their fans along with giving away the watch? How much money would they be able to raise? And what an opportunity for those people to invest in a company that they would love to invest in. They love the watch. They love the company. Let's give them a chance to actually put money into this company and get a reward of the watch, but also get a reward of stock and ownership in the company and all the things that come from that.